Okay, let's begin at the beginning. The beginning of what? Well, there are many potential beginnings, but today we are going to start at the beginning of the Middle Ages. That would be the year 476 AD. To be more specific, that would be September 476 AD, when the last official Roman emperor in the West was deposed by a Germanic warrior named Odoacer. Before we get into the whole deposing an emperor thing, though, let's just take a moment to consider how on earth did we end up in this situation. As far back as the 2nd century AD, Roman emperors were increasingly handing out land grants to Germanic tribes who fought for Rome against other Germanic tribes. This created several problems. For one, it meant that these people who had previously been enemies were now living together in close proximity. And if you know anything about human history, you know that when groups of people with different cultures and languages and, urges to raid live in close proximity to each other, things don't tend to go smoothly. Also, even though these Germanic folks were supposed to be loyal subjects of the Roman Empire, they weren't exactly being paid very well for their trouble. By the mid-400s, these guys were getting pretty fed up with serving an ungrateful empire that didn't even pay them, and so they began to revolt. In the meantime, the Western Roman Empire was being buffeted by other forces as well. There were massive economic problems. There was a huge gap between the rich and the poor. And because the empire was so big, it was becoming increasingly difficult for any one leader to control it. It wasn't uncommon for various parts of the empire to declare independence or to have their own semi-independent rulers. By the middle of the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was really more of a mosaic of independent states held together by a nominal emperor in Ravenna than it was a cohesive political entity. So when the Germanic tribes revolted, they really weren't trying to overthrow a great big empire. They were just taking chunks of territory from a collection of disjointed states. And so while it might seem odd to us to think that the Western Roman Empire ended in 476, it really was effectively over long before that. After sacking Rome in 455, the Visigoths established a kingdom in southern Gaul, which is modern-day France. The Vandals went to North Africa and sacked the city of Carthage. In 455, the Suebi settled in the region encompassing modern-day Portugal and northern Spain. The Burgundians settled in eastern Gaul, and the Lombards settled in northern Italy. You can see where this is going. These Germanic tribes were just taking bits of the empire for themselves. But it was a group of former Roman soldiers, the so-called Herulians, who took the city of Ravenna and put an end to the Western Roman Empire. Their leader was a man named Theodoric the Great. But Theodoric didn't want to be a conqueror. He wanted to be a conqueror, and so he wrote a letter to the Eastern Roman Emperor Zeno, asking to be made the official ruler of Italy under the authority of the Eastern Roman Empire. Zeno agreed, and Theodoric went to work organizing and Romanizing his new kingdom. He reorganized the tax system, reformed the coinage, built roads, aqueducts, and public buildings. He was so successful, in fact, that many historians consider him to be the founder of the Italian kingdom. But things didn't go quite so smoothly in the East. Just after securing Italy, Theodoric turned his attention toward the Visigoths in southern Gaul. The Visigothic king, Alaric II, asked for help, and Zeno was happy to oblige. After all, Alaric was a client king and technically a subject of the Eastern Roman Empire. Zeno sent his general, a man named Basiliscus, to help Alaric fight the Ostrogoths. But Basiliscus had other plans. Instead of helping Alaric, Basiliscus switched sides and helped the Ostrogoths defeat the Visigoths. Not to be undone, Zeno then recalled Basiliscus and replaced him with another general, an ambitious young man named Odoacer. Odoacer arrived in Italy in 475 and marched his troops to the city of Ravenna, where Theodoric had set up his court. Theodoric was forced to flee to northern Italy, where he died in 493. His son, Theodoric the Lame, succeeded him and continued his father's policy of good relations with Rome. Under Theodoric, Italy enjoyed a period of peace and prosperity. Meanwhile, Odoacer was having problems of his own. While he was initially successful in the field, his victories were overturned due to the indecisiveness of Zeno. On top of that, the emperor refused to make Odoacer the official ruler of Italy, even though he had conquered the entire region. And so in 476, Odoacer decided to take matters into his own hands. He deposed the imperial puppet in Ravenna and sent his crown to Constantinople along with a letter explaining that he was now the supreme ruler of Italy. From that day forward, there would not be an official Roman emperor in the West, and that's why it might seem like a strange thing to be celebrating today, the end of the Western Roman Empire. After all, the Roman Empire was a great and glorious civilization, and it certainly seems sad that such a prominent culture just kind of came to an end. But here's the thing. It wasn't the end. Sure, the Western Roman Empire fell, but the Eastern Roman Empire continued on for another 1,000 years. And, to be fair, the Western Empire did continue on in a different form. The Byzantine Empire may have fallen in 1453, but its cultural influence continued on through the Orthodox Church and eventually found a new life through the Russian Empire. Even today, Byzantine art and architecture and literature and philosophy continue to influence the world around us. And maybe that's the real reason we shouldn't be celebrating the fall of the Western Roman Empire. If you want to celebrate the fall of the Western Roman Empire, then you should really be celebrating the birth of medieval Europe. Now, sure, there are some people who consider the Middle Ages to be a dark age of ignorance and superstition, but others argue that it was actually a time of great cultural growth, a time when feudalism and manorialism and the Catholic Church and guilds and merchant classes and universities and chivalry and cathedrals and Gothic architecture all came into being. Was it a dark age, or was it a Renaissance? Well, that's up for debate. But what isn't up for debate is the fact that the Middle Ages lasted for almost 1,000 years. And if that doesn't get your blood pumping, then I don't know what will. And so today, my friends, we celebrate the birth of the Middle Ages. We celebrate the fall of the Western Roman Empire. We celebrate the deposition of Romulus Augustulus by Odoacer. We celebrate the beginning of a new era in European history. And I'm gonna be honest, I usually hate those clickbait titles. Like the thumbnail for this video does not accurately represent what the video is about, but the title is also clickbait and inaccurate. And yet, despite all of that, I clicked on it. Why? Because I was curious. Click the card up here to watch another one of my videos about the fall of the Western Roman Empire. And hey, while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe.